Well, as Robert was alluding to, before I mention what he was alluding to, I'd like to say that so far no one's mentioned recession or global economic downturn. But what they have spoken about are the great business opportunities in this region and beyond. What they've also spoken about is information technology, the application and the analysis of the information that comes from that technology, and the fact that if corporations worldwide don't embrace that new technology and those applications, they will be left behind. Well, that takes us nicely through now to something that Amma and Robert referred to, and that, of course, is our CIO survey. So now I'd like to welcome to the stage the Vice President for Application Management Services, IBM Global Business Services, and that is Nancy Thomas. Nancy.
I was going to try this for a bit. So good afternoon, and it is a privilege to be here today to spend some time with you to really talk about the results of the 2011 CIO study, as well as specifically the Middle East and Africa results. So that's what we're going to spend our time talking about today. So if we very quickly take a look at the agenda that we have, I'm going to spend most of my time really talking about how the CIO will engage with the CEO, and particularly the mandates. There were 4 mandates that came out of our study that are very distinctive. We're going to spend the majority of our time sharing those mandates and talking about how the essential CIO will leverage those mandates. Robert hit on this, but very quickly, this is a series of studies that for a CIO provides a great deal of insight into investments, initiatives, priorities, business imperatives of the CFO and the CEO, and now they tie into our CIO study. As you look here, there are 4 things I'm going to hit that are a bit of, a summary of some things you'll see throughout consistent messages today. The first starts with the fact that the CIOs are really now in step with the CEO. You saw, and you'll see more slides about how important the organization, the senior management sees the role of the CIO, particularly in turning that data into intelligence, that intelligence into meaning that can make faster, better, quicker business decisions. I think, yes, the assumption still holds that you are responsible for delivering the fundamentals of IT. That builds your credibility, whether it's the architecture, the systems, the availability, the resourcing. You are responsible for those fundamentals, and you will continue to need to deliver those with brilliance, because that gives you the foundation for credibility. Agreeing really on the mandates. This is what you'll hear about most of my discussion today, is ensuring that you and the business are aligned with what the mandates are and how you're going to act on those mandates, how you'll answer the questions that are very specific to accomplishing those mandates. And then for the Middle East and Africa, there are some things that we found that are very specific. And they're around 3 areas that are a great deal of importance and investment. They're around insight and intelligence, a theme of our discussion. They're around people skills, the acquisition, the development, the building of those people skills, and then risk management. Unlike your global peers, risk management, the regulatory impacts in the Middle East and Africa were something that came out much stronger as a point of investment, as a point of initiative. The last thing I'll add on this slide, and I'll ask you to keep this in mind as we go through the presentation, is that the majority of you that responded really are in the expand mandate. So when I get to the description of the mandates, think about your peers, your organization, where you sit, and we saw the majority of the Middle East and Africa in the expand mandate. So here are the results that share with you a bit about the survey. Actually, 3,018 were interviewed across a number of countries, 18 industries, and across all sizes of organizations. 2 facts here at a very global level that came out of the survey. Again, 58% say that the CIOs are really integrated, and they've integrated with their business. They've driven technology and integration together, and you have a seat at the table. You have this access of which you can be a change agent, of which you can be a shaping and driving CIO. And then 68% said that senior management would rank technology as critical. You heard in Robert's presentation this come out over and over again. It is a mandate for you to enable technology to impact the business outcomes and business results. Now, this slide is a little different than what Robert showed you, and you will see as we kind of color out what the MIA responses were specifically. But this slide ties together the CEO responses with the CIO responses and highlights again the alignment as well as the MIA specific results in the lighter color you see there. Again, highlighting its insight and intelligence, its customer and client intimacy, building a tighter relationship there, and its people skills. But in MIA, there were other areas that came out as imperatives. Risk management, which I talked about, is driven by the risk of regulatory, of IT and business risks. Some of the enterprise model changes as you're moving out into countries, encroaching on other continents like Africa. And then I think also the internal collaboration that has to occur, not only within your walls, but beyond your four walls. This is actually one of my favorite slides. Without a doubt, it shows you your response over the 3 to 5 years. What are your visionary plans? What are the elements that you're going to focus on? We see the analytics, but here in MIA, 94% of you said this is your top imperative around business analytics and intelligence, mobility solutions, virtualization, but then for business process management. I think you see this particularly in some of the trends we see in MIA because you have many businesses, many family-owned businesses here that are now expanding, moving into acquisitions, moving into other geographies, and they don't necessarily have the business process rigor. They don't have the risk management or the compliance that they need to build out to manage that as they go across organizations. I think also you see many companies looking at expanding across countries and how they manage that compliance and the regulatory challenges. And finally, we see about Africa and the changes that Africa are going to bring around self-service, around portals, around opportunities to do business differently, sort of leapfrog the traditional technologies. So really interesting slide that highlights for you that MIA has really some imperatives that are beyond what we saw from your global peers. Now the mandates is what I'm going to spend the majority of my time talking about. There are 4 mandates: leverage, expand, transform, and pioneer. Again, it's all about looking at where you sit in this mandate. Are you doing the items essential to accomplish it, and where do you need to be? So as we describe the mandates, very quickly, leverage. Leverage is about IT optimization, streamlining. 16% of the MIA responses said we were in leverage. Then we go to expand. This is really where you're refining your business processes, you're enhancing your collaboration internally with your organization. 38% of you, or the majority, said you were in the expand. 29% in transform. Transform is when you think about going beyond your 4 walls, integrating with your customers, your clients, your providers, your suppliers to create a much wider industry value chain. And then finally, pioneer. 17% said pioneer. I think about Africa as the continent that everyone's thinking about, looking at how to enter, how do they address and pioneer into this new environment. So those are the 4 mandates. So I challenge you to think about where you sit as a CIO, where your organization sits as we talk through these. First of all, leverage. I will say everyone has either been through leverage, completed it, or is in the process of leverage today. This is about the optimization. Looking at reviewing and enhancing your legacy systems, looking at sharing and collaborating across your organization, and using those basic IT metrics to collaborate to understand your key performance indicators and how you're performing. So that's leverage. Very quickly, you see what MIA said it was doing. It's rationalizing your application portfolio. It's looking at gradually altering your hardware as you think about other solutions. Those are ways that you're controlling and managing your IT cost. And then here's how to excel. If you're in leverage, you excel by looking at tapping the right team. Talent is important here. You standardize and consolidate across the organization, across the countries, across the lines of business. You update and renew your applications, and then you begin to discover a dashboard, a fundamental set of KPIs that track IT and the performance of IT. And then on the far side, you see a set of questions that you answer. As an essential CIO, am I addressing these if I sit in the leverage mandate? Again, most of you are through leverage or in leverage now. If you expand, this was where you see we had a very good point from expand. 38% of you are in the expand mandate. So I think about expand in a couple of ways. It really is looking at what are your core functions, your non-core functions, and then determining that you will outsource those non-core functions and really focus on what matters to your business. It's enhancing your internal communication and collaboration, uplifting your tools in that area to bring disparate teams together. It's about really implementing business processes. Robert talked about that and how important business processes are, but this is about looking at how you can simplify, how you can put a focus on business process to drive the processes that will be valuable across the business. And then it's looking at, again, driving what you can do from a dashboard perspective and enhancing those analytics. You see here the priorities, the initiatives were around simplifying your key processes. Simplify is a theme here. It's looking at what you can stop doing, what you need to stop doing based on just because of history or the way things were done. Driving real-time analytics, looking at KPIs and managing those and determining how you drive them down to a key set of decisions and taking advantage of those analytics. Some of the companies that we've seen really leverage expand is where they've taken and they've looked at their organization and they've said, we have hundreds of KPIs. We have way too many types of data analytics. I'm going to funnel them down into the top 10, the top 20 that really are meaningful to the organization and have the organization all rallied around this set of analytics. It's also looking again at processes, what you do from a reporting perspective. We see so much proliferation of reporting and really looking at, I have systems, I have ERPs. Can I just use standard reporting that exists? Can I turn off the hundreds, if not thousands of reports that exist today that no one is using? How do I leverage that? Again, many of you sit and expand, and here are again the attributes around expand and how to excel. This is the first place you really see the integration coming together between business and technology. You see the lines of business, you see and expand that you as CIOs are talking the business language. You are discussing your projects and the value of the projects in business terms, not in technical terms. You're focusing on your core business and outsourcing the items that are non-core to you. You're simplifying, you're automating, you're integrating, and then you're advancing your metrics by understanding the metrics that are key to your business and valuable, and really understanding how to leverage them across the organization. So now, transform. And this was probably one of the most exciting pieces of information that came out of the study for MIA, that you are ahead of the global peers around transform. You're at 29% of you are sitting in transform, and I think this is exciting because it says that you are leapfrogging some of your global peers, because transform is about stepping outside of your four walls and really integrating with your customers, your clients, your partners, your suppliers, your vendors. Just as Bob said in his final slides, Robert talked about big data. It's taking advantage of big data. Again, it's simplifying the relationship with you have your customers and your partners. It's enhancing your value around analytics across the organization. Transform, again, 29% of you, that's a very big number, are reaching outside of your organization to make an impact on your business and your business model. So the mantra for transform is simplify. It's simplify your internal processes. It's simplify the relationship you have with your clients and your external partners. We have some great examples where businesses have taken this and they've looked to transform to really simplify the relationship, get to know their clients, get to know their personal needs, and understand how to reach them in the simplest, easiest, most straightforward manner. Be able not to just push standard products on them, but to target them specifically for what they've requested, what is meaningful to them as a client, and to feel that client intimacy. So this is very important when you look at the number of you that sit and transform, and this is the opportunity of where you can really impact and reach outside your four walls and let IT, again, become an enabler of some new business models, of really looking, as you said, of creating new partners for your business. Point here around the big data, and the big data element and the 3 V's that we saw, particularly the velocity and the volume that you need to deal with. It is about your ability to use this data to drive better and faster business decisions, and also a very big point there, 83% there you see from Mia around what activities you want to use to achieve this, is around understanding the profitability of your different products and services, understanding where you want to shed clients, shed customers that are not profitable, understanding with the data, having the access to know what products and services are no longer making the revenue streams that are needed or can be expanded. So this, again, is how you will accomplish these goals, and particularly as we saw with big data, how much is going to come at you, how quickly, with velocity and volume that you need to manage. This is all about transform. Simplify, and it's primarily simplifying the relationship you have with your clients, simplifying the relationship with your partners and vendors, making it real time. The data only is leveraged when it's real time and can be acted upon quickly and seamlessly across the organization. And then it's getting to really analyze. We talked about profitability, using this data to do analytics that are meaningful and that can quickly drive decisions where you shed products, shed services, and move quickly into new markets. So transform. We saw 29% of you sitting there, which means you're stepping outside of your walls, engaging in new relationships with your clients, with your suppliers and vendors. I think that was one of the most exciting pieces of information we saw from the Middle East and Africa CIOs. Now, where does that leave the last mandate? The last mandate is on Pioneer. And I think about Pioneer really as being Africa. Everybody's thinking, they're looking, they're determining how to leverage Africa, what products and services they will leverage there. It is the ability to use predictive analytics versus the headlights or the reactive analytics. It is looking for new sources of revenue, new business models, and taking on a customer experience that will be completely different. You cannot go into Pioneer with a traditional business model approach, with a traditional IT approach. You've got to look at how you leverage new models. And think about how the telcos are doing some really great work here, where they're recognizing in Africa maybe their standard products and services are not generating the same streams of revenue. They're looking at new models, whether it's mobile banking to serve the unbanked, whether they're pressing healthcare opportunities to clients they are targeting particular healthcare needs. All of this is about Pioneer. It is doing something different away from the traditional business model. It is about the IT and CIO now enabling new streams of revenue for the business in a model that is nimble and rapid. So you see here, profitability of services, and again, your analytics there. It is being able to add new sources of revenue and looking at how the revenue model changes. So Pioneer, again, I use Africa here because that is really one of the areas that we see your opportunity, that you will have to shed the traditional business model and look at new ways as a CIO to help enable those revenue streams. You'll have to be nimble, reacting, supporting the business as they look for those new models, and particularly those companies that will put trial services out to Africa and will test it, will see those benefits. So I've already kind of hit on those things there, but it really is, again, about stepping out into a new domain, looking at new markets, new services, and how you will support that. I also think this is where you'll look at how you leverage social media. Robert talked about some of the ways that we see the proliferation of data across the internet, but how will you use social media to help expand into new Pioneer markets? So I have hit very quickly on the 4 mandates given our time. But what you see out of this, in order to be successful in these mandates, you've got to have the IT business talent in place. You've got to manage beyond your line responsibilities, outside of your domain, into the business, into outside of the organization, into your customers, providers, and suppliers. And then you've got to set the right conditions before starting. The mandate has to be clear, it has to be aligned, between the business and technology. So, my last point of what we saw with Mia that was most interesting is where you sit today as CIOs. 40% of you responded that you report to the CEO. That is very, very different than just 24 months ago at the last survey when many of you were not in that direct reporting relationship to the CEO and board. What this says now is that you have the axis. You determine what kind of CIO you're going to be. You have a seat at the table with the board, with the CEO, with the COO. You need to determine, am I going to be a listening CIO or am I going to be a shaping CIO? Am I going to step up and bring my emphasis here, what technology can deliver for new business models, new sources of revenue, new support for the business to enable those new opportunities? This is really a challenge that I have for you to think about. You have that axis. You now have a majority that report to the CEO. And how do you leverage that opportunity, that access that you have to really be a change agent? So my last slide here, as we go into the panel, and there's really no good closing. I'd hope to be able to wrap this up and give you a wonderful closing. But in reality, for each of you, you need to consider and assess where you sit in the mandates. Which of the 4 mandates you sit in, are you excelling in that mandate? Are you the essential CIO in the mandate? You need to look at the projects and initiatives you have. You need to determine, are these the right priorities for the business? Should I change my priorities? Are they giving the value that's needed, the return on the investment that's being made? We know we are all challenged to that. So I challenge you to look at where you sit today, the mandate that you're in. Are you essential in that mandate? Are you delivering it? And then what is the next mandate that you will move into? So with that, we've very quickly hit the results of the Middle East and Africa, and now we want to invite our MC back on to lead us into the panel session. Stephen?
It's fascinating, isn't it, to see how the survey results turned up from the last 2 years. It's going to be even more interesting to see the next 2 years. But before we get to that, as Nancy says, we're now going to take an in-depth look and have some comment by some panelists. And I think this might be very interesting and some emotion will be drawn out of this. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage Mr. Michael Regan. He's the Chief Information Officer of Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi. Michael. Ali Nahla, Senior Executive Director of Banque du Liban in Lebanon. Ghazi Karout, Senior Vice President, Head of IT for Al Hilal Bank here in the UAE. And Jacob Kurian, Director of Information Technology, Khalifa University of Science, Technology and Research, once again here in the UAE. Another round of applause for our panelists. Nancy, my job's done. It's back to you.
Back to you. So gentlemen, thank you. For the team here, we are very fortunate today to have a great diversity in our panel and an opportunity to allow them to share with you some of the things they're doing within their organization, how their business imperatives are, again, enabling their organizations to be more vibrant in the marketplace, to have a leading edge. So I have a series of questions I'm going to challenge you with. And again, I've got to know some of you, so I know that this will not be a boring panel. So we will just launch right into it. You heard from both Robert's presentation and from the results of the MIA CIO study that business analytics and intelligence are critical. So I'll ask my first question about how have you implemented business analytics and intelligence? What are the type of benefits your organization is seeing? And how are you, again, moving to the next level? So Ghazi, I'll start with you to share what you've done around business analytics and intelligence.
Thank you, Nancy. As you said, the most 3 words were repeated today. It was insight, intelligent, and predictive. So you have to be insight, intelligent, predictive. You have to have the right data. So you have to build your foundation for whatever you want. In order to do that, you need to capture the data. So you have to build an infrastructure which will enabling you to capture the right data. It's not working. Now, the key here is to build the infrastructure. So when you design your infrastructure, it should be end-to-end. You have to think about your two customers, the external customer and the internal customer. And I will start from the internal customer, then we'll see the benefits to the external customer. Now the data, as I said, when you build your infrastructure to capture the data, you have to have a dynamic, flexible infrastructure, so whatever you want to add now or in the future, whatever changes, the system will be capable to adapt and to incorporate everything integrated with your infrastructure. In order to do that, you need your service bus, which will control all the relationship between your different applications and systems. You need a strong business rules and strong business processes, and you need a good management for your data. You have two types of data. You have the structured and non-structured, as mentioned in the previous transaction. The structured data, also it's two parts. It is the static and the transactional. And here also the intelligence, how you classify your transaction, how you classify your static data. And you have the non-structured data, which is increasing, as also mentioned in the previous session. You have four types of non-structured data: the documents, the images, voices, and video. Now you have the infrastructure to build the data. You have to utilize the data. So you have to add on top of that your analytical tools, a very strong advanced analytical tools and predictive tools. Having done all of this, what will be the result for the internal customer? So this for the internal customer, which is the most important to serve the external customer, it will provide them with customer insight. You will know everything about your customer. You have better understanding to your customer needs and behaviors. So it will take you to the next step, business insight. So knowing your customer, his behavior, his needs, so you need to grow your business. You need to sustain the customer loyalty and profitability, so you will be ahead of your customer. You will build something which the customer is required. Maybe he does not know that he needs it, but knowing him, so you predict his needs. So you will build maybe a tailor-made product to serve your customer at the right time and the right price. So what will be the end result to the customer here? The customer, he will have unmatched experience. The customer is being treated like a king, and I will give examples if the time is allowing, how we can have that all with examples. So the customer will have unmatched experience, which enable him to have a top view of his relationship with the organization. When I say relationship, the relation with the organization, I'm not talking about if he's talking in the banks, a balance or transaction. I'm talking about the full relationship. Everything he done with the bank, how many times he visited his branch or he interact with his organization, how many times he has requested, what is the status of this request, and so on. And also he can track his service request at a glance. Now, let's take examples about this intelligence. We built all of that and take examples. I'm from a banking sector, so I will talk about examples from the banking sector. Some of the intelligence to be predictive. You know, all of you, sometimes you need to write a check, and you found that you are out of check leaves. So what you will do? So you have to wait and to postpone, or you have to go to the bank or to the ATM to withdraw cash and do whatever you want to do. Here, if the bank has the right information and they analyze it, he will know in advance that there are 5 check leaves left in your checkbook, so he will alert you, sir, you need a new checkbook. Do you want us to issue it? Because there is a cost, you need to take his approval on that. Maybe something else. You can work as a financial advisor to your customer, so you can project for him his earning, his expenditure, how much he paid to the bank, how much he earned from the bank, how much he's paying for tuition, how much he's paying for grocery, shopping, whatever. And you can be there by analyzing these data, working. You can, if there's a deficiency, you can help to cover that deficiency. If there's a saving, you also can help by introducing or proposing the right product for him to invest his savings. And there are so many examples.
So Kazi, thank you. I think you hit on an important point of using analytics really to create a high level of customer touch, customer intimacy, and really getting in front, as you said, of finding out and being able to present them things they may not even realize they need yet from a products and offerings perspective. So Michael, I'm going to turn the question over to you, a very different industry, and see if you can share what you're doing around business analytics, intelligence. How are you using that in your organization?
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with my esteemed colleagues up here that the business intelligence and the infrastructure is becoming more and more important. I'm seeing that a lot of the investment decisions that we're making in healthcare are really being driven at that decision point by analytics and by business intelligence. What I mean by that is that we're committing to outcomes for patients prior to doing investment in technology, prior to doing investment in medical equipment, prior to investing in new staff. So it's aligning the business with that outcome in mind, developing a process and layering the technology on to achieve that outcome. And that whole view of the organization is being driven, underlined by analytics and by data. And so today, when we look to improve diabetic care or congestive heart failure or any kind of chronic disease management, we're focused on what outcome are we going to deliver to those patients and how we're going to improve that management process prior to the investment stage, prior to the build stage, and really using data as a way to monitor and manage that project, that investment, and the overall management. Second, I would say that the more information that physicians and caregivers have at the point of care, the better their decision-making process is. And so there's a huge demand for additional data and linking different pieces of the episodic care model together to give them improved decision-making ability. So today, where healthcare typically is a very small or very short visit between you and a provider or between you and a clinician, it's linking all those episodes of care together to make the right decision, to have that data at your disposal before you make the decision. It really increases the efficiency and effectiveness of the treatment as well as the staff.
So very interesting, and I think yours is one, again, that's all about the high touch of using the analytics and being able to capture that and harness that volume, as you said, not just to have something that is an immediate point, but having a history that leads to a different set of insights, a different set of intelligence. So Michael, thank you. You know, Ali, I'm going to turn it over to you from another banking perspective. If you can share your thoughts around business analytics, business intelligence.
Yes, for sure. Because we are a central bank and we need to be ready in our information system at all time and in real-time mode. After seeing the Rob presentation and we see with you the result of the survey, really we need, we know exactly for what we do yesterday and what we are doing now, but for the future, really we are asking, because we know very well our business, we are asking about intelligent solution everywhere. We are asking to have intelligent product, intelligent services, and intelligent solution. Why? Because we need to take intelligent decision in the end. To do it, you need intelligent model. And to have this intelligent model, all the product and all the solution should be intelligent to facilitate our mission. If not, we are doing a normal transformation and we should repeat it again and again. I prefer to plan in the future to do an intelligent transformation using intelligence product and intelligent solution. Thank you.
Ali, thank you. Now, Jacob, I'm going to turn it over to you and think about and share with us how, from a university, from an education perspective, business analytics and intelligence plays a role in what you do as a CIO.
I come from a university which is very young, about 3 years old. We are building our institutional effectiveness department right now. So what we aim to achieve out of business analytics is to have an effective institution. We think we are taking it up in 3 stages. The first stage is about having data and reporting it, which we think will increase our operational efficiency, operational effectiveness. The next stage is to actually analyze data and then learn from it, like looking at the rear view mirror and seeing what we did wrong and what we could have done better. That actually brings about process effectiveness. And the next stage is actually when we do predictive analytics. That is when we will achieve institutional effectiveness.
Good. Jacob, thank you. One of the things we also saw, and one of the things that were specifically called out in the MIA executive summary from the CIOs, is the importance of talent, of people skills, the ability to acquire and develop talent. And I don't want to miss that, because we know how important that is here in the success of the role of the CIO and the IT organization. So Ali, I'm going to turn it back over to you and ask you to share some of your thoughts about what you're doing about talent, about people skills, people development, and how you're leveraging that and optimizing that across your organization.
Yes, thank you. It's still till now in the region to build the people skill. It's still in some way in our top priority. Because why? Because we should bring to the organization more knowledge and more responsibility, best use of the solution, best use of the systems. We need to have best quality to simplify and analyze and automate all our solution. And in the end, it should be a good understanding between the different entity in the organization, mainly between business entity and information technology entity. In the end, we can minimize the complete gap between the different entity in the organization when we build a good people skills in our organization. Thank you.
Gaza, your thoughts about the people development, the importance of skills and talents, particularly as you are really transforming your business?
You know, this is really a real problem. And I don't think that nowadays that there is, as we use in my days, have self-development. Now, you know, with the cost cutting, the rush of the projects, time to market things, I don't think that the management of the IT or the IT staff themselves, they have the time for the self-development. And this is really an issue. You don't have the right number of the resources, so which you can spare somebody to go out for training or whatever, or for him to have enough time for himself to develop himself. So this is an issue. This is if we are talking about the old technology, if there's technology which is known. As example, you want X product, you have in the market different choices. You can hire the right choice with the right price, a right candidate with the right price, and you can bring him in. This is one of the solutions. The issue would become if there's a new technology. What I'm adopting now is a new technology. In the market, there's no expertise or skills to support my technology. So I'm fully dependent on my vendor. Also my vendor, because it is technology, they lack to certain knowledge and expertise to support me at the right time with the right skills. Also, this is an issue. So, from two dimensions, internally, I believe the CIOs, they have to find a smart way to find time for their staff for personal development, either self-development or investing in them to enhance their skills and capabilities to better serve the organization. The other one, I believe it is a must before you choose any solution or new technology to make sure that your vendor is fully capable to support you on the region. You don't want, I have X new technology and I have the expertise in Europe or in the United States, and they need ages to come over, or they are busy with other projects. This is a very important issue which everyone should take care of and pay attention to it.
So, Kazi, I think you've hit on an important point. With the new technologies that are coming out so rapidly and so quickly, the tools that are coming into your businesses, as you said, how do you acquire that talent? Either how do you build it yourself, or how do you find a vendor? And you can speak to us clearly about that, about vendors that need to build talent locally in the region. So I think you hit on an important challenge for many of us here, is how do we see that talent really being developed here in the Middle East and Africa so we can continue to capitalize on it versus importing it in from other locations. So I think for all of us, the vendors and suppliers in the rooms, you've hit something that's a challenge for us that we personally have to take on, which is being able to respond when those new technologies are placed in the market with that local talent. So I think that's a very good, I know, Ghazi, I know.
No, but it's easy with IBM. You have all those genius people who solve the world's problems. If you have a problem in Singapore with transportation, they call IBM. They send genius people to fix it. So we can have some of those here in the region.
Yeah, exactly, building talent here in the region. So I'll turn it back over. Jacob, your thoughts on building talent, and particularly as a university, I would guess that research is very important to what you're doing. Can you share with us not just the IT talent, but beyond that as well?
It is a challenge for universities because the kind of skills we need is much more than basic IT skills. Our computing is not just administrative. We have academic computing. We look at delivery of content for the students, the learning management systems, library management systems, student management systems. It's a diverse array of say systems. So the kind of talent we need is especially diverse. So it is a challenge that we too face to hire and retain talent. But I think I'm of the opinion that the core competencies should remain within the IT department, but what can be outsourced should be. There are mundane things like the desktop support, or maybe the support of AV systems that we have, which is routine kind of tasks. I don't need to have expertise within my IT department in order to maintain these. I think we can depend on partners to do this. As far as major systems installations are concerned, again, like the way the technology is changing quickly, we have to have solid partnerships. We have to build partnerships with vendors that we trust, so that long-term relations work out much better. And again, systems, instead of choosing the best-of-breed systems in every area, we feel that systems that can integrate, work together are much better than choosing disparate systems with best-of-breed.
Okay. So Jacob, I think you also raise a good point that we saw in some of the MIA mandates, which is really, as you said, around defining the core and then things that are non-core and being able to use partners and other providers to help support that while you are building that competency and that capability in your core business. So I think that aligns, what you're doing there very much aligns with what we saw in the expand mandate as you're dealing with talent and people development. So Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you to maybe expand a little bit more on how you in healthcare would view the ability for local support as well as global support, as healthcare is obviously expanding very rapidly.
Yes. I would say that people are our number one most important asset in IT. So when I think about a decision for new technology, it really comes down to a people decision. It really comes down to a knowledge decision. And the model that we're trying to deploy, Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi is in the startup phase. We're building a large tertiary care hospital and clinic, and we're growing, we're doubling the size of the organization about every 6 months. And that will continue until we open in 2012 and 13. And it's important as we're bringing on new people into the organization that they're supported correctly and that we're able to kind of transfer that knowledge. So we've really chosen kind of a hybrid approach. We knew that recruiting the right talent here was going to be a challenge in the region. That also our success lied with aligning the right partners, whether that was local telco partners, system integration partners, vendors who supply software or hardware, they were going to directly contribute to our success in IT. And so it's really through that complete ecosystem that, you know, is really my IT organization. So I have a very small management team on the ground of approximately 28 people, but we probably have more than 300 people working globally on delivering the solution for Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi throughout Asia, Europe, and America. And each specific knowledge that we need, in most cases, comes to us for a very short duration in time. So we needed the ability to ramp up staff and talent very quickly, and then potentially go more to a support mode or to an operations mode, and how would we transition that? So a lot of rapid change for us over the coming, you know, over the past couple of years and the coming 3 years. And so we've really looked at how do we effectively use outsourced models for commodity-based services, whether that's, you know, pure play technology or networking. How do we use key relationships with our vendors and software providers to provide us specific expertise on clinical and line of business applications. And then finally, training people here locally to support this and to be able to deliver this once we're an operational facility. We will hire over 2,700 people at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi over the next 2.5 years. And so that comes with a large training component, a large knowledge that we have to empower our people with. So, you know, the other thing is, I would say that knowledge, that the training and talent management never goes away. So the moment we get all 2,700 people trained on the thousands of business processes, line of business applications, clinical applications, immediately there's going to be technology breakthroughs, there's going to be changes in business process, there's going to be optimizations, there's going to be regulatory change. And so it's a constant battle for us to keep people informed, to keep people knowledgeable on how to deliver the best service.
So a strong message, I think, from all of our panelists about talent, the development, the acquisition, the investment in talent, and then knowing how to balance what you use from providers and suppliers to build out that portfolio that, again, deal and handle your clients every day. So, Ghazi,
I want to add on this.
absolutely.
Yes, okay.
We expect you to jump right in.
There's another model, which is the hybrid, where you can mix from the internal support by building your team, investing with them, sending them for training, or outsource tasks, or outsource the full function and the support. So this hybrid model, I believe it is very practical. So you have the time to build the team while you are supported with the new technologies, supported with new functions, and you will keep maintaining your level of services to your customer as standard. Okay?
Good. So I'm going to move into our next question, which was really something we saw in the Transform mandate, which was around how do you get outside of your four walls, how do you use your clients, your partners, your vendors, your customers to really collaborate with you to help you determine your next set of services or products or offerings. And so, Jacob, I'm going to ask you, how do you use these, the extension outside of your walls to really become part of your team?
We are a university. Our customers are students. The external customers are students. All interaction during the recruitment phase, the events that we conduct in order to attract students, all these are monitored all the time. And whether these translate to actual recruitment or not is monitored. And then after they join the university, they're still our customers. After they leave the university, they're still our customers. They become our alumni. So we give a lot of weightage to what inputs we receive from them in order to make our services different. There was a time when we used to hand out applications and they filled those applications, they came in. Now we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we have a web presence, And there is active interaction with the students much before they join the college. Once they join the college again, the interaction between the faculty and the students is much more online now than earlier. Earlier it was kind of one-way transaction, lecturer delivers a lecture, the student listens. But now there are systems that help them collaborate much better. They have their own spaces. There is also a drive to make students teach each other. So the collaboration environment makes it much easier for them to do this. So yes, these are our customers, and we take their input really serious. And the way we interact, the way we offer service is totally dependent on how they react to the services that we offer.
So Jacob, I think probably you more than any of the panel have much more of that social media interaction because of the nature of your students and how they work together. So I think you're exactly, as you said, collaborating. They are your clients, your customers, and they continue in that relationship beyond just their experience. So Ghazi, I'm going to go to you because some of the things that you're doing with your customers sort of very proactive in how you're creating that experience for them as they enter your facilities. So talk about, share that with us a bit.
The customer experience with us, this is a very joyful subject to talk about. We are a new bank. We are 3 years old. And from day one, we were inspired by innovation. And also from day one, we partnership with IBM. The moment that the bank established by Amiri declared, the board called IBM, make a bank for us. And we were targeting to be different. So the differentiation, we're doing everything from our logo, our products, our branches, our services, everything. We have a flagship branch which is unique in the world. We call it Mall branch, 4,000 square meter. It is designed as a mall. It is not in a mall because it has different outlets. Each outlet serves different segment from our customers in a different, offering different image. And also in a mall, when you're tired, you stop up for a cup of coffee. We have a Starbucks inside the branch. We have our Hilal Auto also, where we set a high standard KPIs for ourselves. It's a challenging one. Any customer can walk in, drive out in 60 minutes. And we are committed to the 60 minutes dose. So he can choose the car, apply for finance, get it approved, insure it, register it, put the plate, drive it back in 60 minutes. Now, how we create these products, how we can address it, even for the kids. The kids, we have a unique kids branch. First week we launched this service, we managed to raise 5.6 million dirham from kids 5 to 8 years old. They force their parents to bring them to the bank because what we are making available to them in the branch, in the kids branch. As you mentioned, that we have three parties. You have your customer, you have your colleagues, and you have your vendor. And you have the tools to build that. And I want to start from what we have ended before in our panel here, when we said the intelligence predictive. Why you are implementing all of that if this will not tell you what the customer wants, how you are going to create and develop what he wants. So that's why you are implementing all these intelligence and predictive tools. Now, for the customers, we have in all our branches kiosk where the customer, he can submit any suggestion, any idea, and he can do the same through our website. For our staff, we have something called it fikrati in Arabic, which is my idea, and he's got rewarded for that. So he can submit whatever. There is also a panel who can review and evaluate that idea and make it happen if it is feasible. And we have our vendors. Our vendors, I don't that we are giving them a chance to run away. We always following with them on the latest technology. And all of our vendors, especially IBM, they know that any crazy idea, it's most welcome with us. So we always follow what's in the international market, what are the new innovations, not especially to be, or particularly to be in the banking sector. Any good idea in any sector, it might be applicable to our sector. So we are following those innovations across all industries.
So good, Ghazi. So actually, Michael, I'm going to, from another industry's perspective, a very different view, but I think what Ghazi kind of shared was, how are you leveraging what's done in other markets? You mentioned some of the North American, the European. How are you leveraging that to address your customer intimacy and your customer experience? Or what are some of the other things you're doing that are collaboration? You know, we certainly heard about Jacob and some of the social media, maybe a little different from a healthcare perspective. So how does your industry look at that?
Well, I think that increasingly patients want more access to information. And so one of the ways that we're going to provide that is really through mobility. So we see that the ability to access their patient record through their mobile phone,
Wow.
Their ability to receive alerts, reminders through text, whether that's simple appointment reminders or more interactive sessions with our facility. We also see that crossing into our referral networks and to other providers who may refer patients to our facility, of giving them direct access through portals to our electronic medical records, so when a patient returns to a primary care physician or a family doctor, that they can see a full account of what occurred in the facility and be satisfied with the care that they referred them to. So it's really about access to information and providing maybe ease of use, some way to make it easier to get access to information, whether that's through mobility or some online. I also think that apps in the iPhone kind of world are beginning to become a much stronger source of information in healthcare. We're seeing a lot of innovative ways to deliver and to connect people increasingly with the healthcare continuum through applications, through apps on their phones. So we intend to leverage that as well as a way to connect with our patients and customers.
And I think, you know, certainly the MIA results said that mobility was the second visionary element for the next 3 to 5 years. So your industry is clearly going to embrace that. So Ali, just for a moment, I'll ask you to share with us again, how do you engage with your external customers? How do you collaborate with them to enhance your business?
Yes, our customer as a central bank are the banks and financial institution and the government entity. For this reason, our mission, it is more, we should be ready at all level, and we should be ready in real-time mode. Now in our transformation, we are moving from the classical system to real-time system at all level. And to build this system, it isn't only a BDL central bank responsibility, it is a complete responsibility at the level of the domestic entity for banks, financial institutions, and for the government entity. For this reason, we are in stage now, we are building our national payment system, and we have pilot bank with us all the way, from the design side to the concept side to the implementation. Now we are in the training and testing area, and the same it is for the government entity. They are with the central bank, doing the same like the banks and financial institution, and they share with us all the responsibility from the beginning to the end of the implementation. For this reason, it cannot be in other way. We should cooperate, and we should have good discussion and good relation, because they should use the system, and they should be easy for them, and they give him what they need and all what they need.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So one of the things I thought that was so great about our panel is you think about Transform and how they've expanded beyond their four walls. We've got students as clients and customers. We've got end customers for banking. We've got government and other banks. And we've got patients. So we really see, regardless of the industry, this mandate is very important in how you look at your responsibilities from an IT perspective. Our time is winding down on the panel now. So what I'd like to do is just to give each of our panelists just a moment to think about the essential CIO. And what are the couple of elements, a couple of sentences that you'd like to share to the CIOs in the room that are important, that are critical to their success as an essential CIO? So maybe Ghazi, I'll have you pick up the microphone and start, and then we'll just finish up our panel with that topic.
Okay. First of all, I believe that the business, they are dreamers. The business, I mean my business units, they are dreamers. And I believe the CIO role to make these dreams come true. So this is the big challenge, especially when you are talking about the world of innovation to be different. So this is one thing, and which make you to be always to be ahead of the business and ahead of your customer as well. And you want to be pioneer and let's say you are building the brand of your bank or your organization by these things. So as us, we are known as the Orange Bank, the innovative bank. This is known. This is how now people identify Al Hilal Bank in the region. So this is one. Number two, it's all about what you want to do in your infrastructure, how you want to do it. Are you going to go for the latest, or you are going to build it gradually? How complex you want it? I believe you use simplify here many times. But I believe in order to achieve the maximum performance, to achieve the full integrity, to have the amount of automation for everything almost in your organization, simplify it will not be a good work there, and it should be a complex because you have different vendors, different systems, different applications. And the challenge here to make all of these working together.
Jacob?
As a university, we kind of realized that we are a research university, as the name suggests, that the way to go about research is to collaborate. So we have research tie-up with many international organizations, national organizations. We had the foresight to see that collaboration needs connectivity. So Khalifa University did pioneer a project called the Ankabut, which in Arabic means spider, which probably equates to Janet 2 in the UK and Janet in the UK and Internet 2 in the US, which has a backbone of 10 gigabytes. It connects all the universities in the UAE together. So we built the platform, and now we are looking for collaboration. So being proactive is certainly important.
Certainly. Ali, some of your critical factors of success.
Yes, for sure. If we need result and good result, the cooperation and the communication, the collaboration should be there between the different entity, business entity and technology, IT technology. In my opinion, a good understanding should be at all level, from the side about the needs, to the design, to the concept, to the implementation, to the training, to have to achieve to the solution and to achieve to the objective and business goal in the end. I hope this, we are in good time now, because when you do the comparison between the Middle East and other regions, we are not at the same layer. Now in the Middle East, we are in better communication and better cooperation and collaboration between the different entity in the same organization. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Michael.
I would second what everyone else said up here. Fundamentally, I think for us and for many people, it's about thinking about how to deliver IT as a service and not from a technology perspective, but from a business perspective. So I've seen over the past year the role of the COO and the CEO being much closer aligned directly with what they're doing. So IT is no longer in the basement and a call center. It's at the point of care. My people who support the pharmacy sit in pharmacy. My people who support finance sit in finance. And there's more of a direct relationship and more of a direct service provider sense around how IT has to function. It has to be seen in the organization. So rather than being a separate organization or being an impediment or another step in the process, it's really about providing service to those business units in a way that they need to have that service delivered. And thinking about always optimizing your service in the context of their business rather than from a technology perspective. So this is a different way of thinking. I think for a lot of IT professionals, it takes a lot of effort and time to put in a service management program. And it's something that I think has been very central, I think, to our success of really being accepted as a business partner and someone who's along for the journey and has the same challenges as our CEO and COO have, rather than being the technology provider who just is there to provide infrastructure. So I think that's a key theme, a key message maybe to think about in your organizations about how IT functions as a service.
Michael, thank you, and thank you, panelists. I'm going to keep you seated here while I close for just a few minutes. Hopefully what you've heard in this session is there are lots of threads of commonality across really these change agents in different industries with different types of clients, but in this region, in Middle East and Africa, we really do see the agents of change that they have become. And so what I'd like to do is, you've heard what they've done in their organizations, you've heard how they've dealt with collaboration, with their challenges, with their new business models. So I'd like to challenge you with a couple of things. One, just as they've said, collaborate well beyond what you normally would expect to. We heard that from all of them. Secondly, simplification. We need to make simplification one of the goals that makes us successful in our nimbleness of expanding to countries, to regions, and to new business models. I think foremost we heard from them how they have embraced the power of analytics. Certainly something each of them have done that is unique to their organization, how they've taken it, reached out, and created an environment that is dedicated to the client, to their customer intimacy. And then I think it's all about creating those relationships that grow the revenue, that drive the profitability, that enhance the business, and finally, the people. The investment that you need to make, the investment that this group has made in training themselves and keeping themselves current, in training their teams and understanding the new technologies. There is a great opportunity here for you. You have that access of being set up with the CEO in the various organizations to be that agent of change. So with that, I would challenge you to look at the mandate to determine, are you the essential CIO? So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panel and also for Nancy. Nancy, it really is amazing that the panelists have managed to explain very eloquently how their businesses are moving forward by embracing technology and the applications in that way. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panelists.
Here, here.
And for Nancy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.